La 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 la. Screen peeking. Bop bop bop.
Hey everybody, welcome to Screen Peeking, a weekly podcast where Ziggy and I get together to talk about video games and everything video game related. Today, our main topic is on Xbox Live and PlayStation Network, whether they should be free. And we are also joined by Pinging Vito, aka my brother Jesse. Welcome, Jesse.
Once again.
Hello.
He returns.
Yes, I have
He
returned.
returns. Thank you for gracing us with your presence.
Anytime.
And just a quick right off the top before I forget, this is episode 22, and if you like this video and you like the episode, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel for more, and if you don't like it, if you leave a down vote, please leave a comment. Let us know what we can improve on. If you don't like the video, I would love to hear why, and don't hold back. So let's just start right away, as usual, with what we've been playing for the last week, what we've been up to. Ziggy, why don't you go first?
All right. So I'm playing a few things. Number one, I want to say I finished Hitman 3, which I was about halfway through last episode.
Yay!
Yay! And I think it's really good. The last level was kind of weird. I don't want to spoil what it is, but it didn't hit super hard for me because it wasn't really like a traditional Hitman level. But it was okay. I think other than that, I think the whole game was really, really strong. And now I started to go back, like replaying some of the missions that I really liked. Because I think what this iteration does better than previous ones is the moment I finish a level, I'm thinking about how I'd replay it. Like, or even like in the level, like as I'm playing, I see something and go, oh shit, like that'll be super fun for next time. Like
Nice.
I remember in like the first mission I was playing and I saw these like speakers that you could push off of a balcony. And I'm like, like I saw that running through my head, like, oh, I wonder if I could get someone to like walk underneath here and then like push it off at just the right moment so it hits them and stuff like that. Like just keeping your head running. So this is definitely like the most replayed Hitman game I've played for sure, where I've been going back, trying to do new stuff, see just how weird I can get with it, and I've been having a lot of fun with that. I got back into Sea of Thieves, which is why Sea of Thieves is my background today, and I've been having an absolute blast with that. The game's so much fun. I really liked that game at launch and then just fell off of it like a lot of people did because there wasn't necessarily a ton to do or really like progress. But after taking probably like a year off, it is a way stronger game now than it ever was before. Like there is so much to do. There's so many new mission types and more than just stuff to do. I think more importantly, there's stuff to progress more than just like raising your reputation with the different like merchants or whatever. There's because now there's like a battle pass too, I believe, and I actually really like how it's set up because it's mostly free. There's like a few items. I think there's 10 items on the whole battle pass that you need the like premium pass for, but for the most part it's just a way to get cool shit while playing and like doing special quests and stuff like that. So it's just more stuff to do, more stuff to make you feel like you're improving and progressing, and I think that's really fun. And then also I've been playing this game Crawl, which came out
Love that
I think
game.
a few years ago. Yeah, but it just came onto Xbox. And I hadn't heard of it before. I just discovered this game. And it makes me really wish I didn't discover this game right in the middle of a pandemic because like fuck, I want to play this game with friends.
I'll play it with you.
Does it have online?
I have no idea. But wait, Steam,
'Cause
do you have a? You said it's on Xbox. If you get on Steam, we can artificially do local co-op. So
Oh,
remote
true,
play or
true.
something.
Yeah.
there's like a different way. But anyways, we can figure that out later. Sorry.
Yeah. But that game is so some of the thing I was watching it and then like I was like, oh, that's a interesting like cover image, so I clicked on it because it was like the first new game on Xbox, like the newest game on the list. And so and then watched the trailer, just like immediately hooked. Like that sounds like a fucking awesome premise. And I downloaded it, played it. I just played like one match with CPUs, and I was like, God, this is so cool. Like I almost don't want to play anymore. Like I want to wait to really, really invest myself in this game when I'm actually playing with people because it seems like an absolute blast. But yeah, that's super fun. And then finally, I've been playing Enter the Gungeon, which has kind of eaten up a lot of my free time in the past week, but we'll talk about that later.
Nice. Jesse, why don't you go into what you've been playing this week?
Sure. I've been playing Division 2, Definitely spiked my interest to jump back into that game once they announced the Resident Evil little event that's starting February 2nd, just with some like Resident Evil outfits and stuff, and Division 2, which I loved that game back when it came out. Me and Nick played it so much. We pretty much beat it. We didn't complete it. We're not a completionist really, but definitely played as much as we wanted and got everything like done that we wanted. So it's been fun though hopping back in. There's been a few new things since we've been away for like a year. And yeah, so playing some Division's fun.
Yeah, it's been a good time. I'll just go right into I've been playing the Division 2 with you, of course. And the thing we've been doing though, right, is the skyscraper. The 100 floors. It's almost like if you wanted to do a horde mode, or if you wanted to do, it's not quite horde, but if you wanted to have waves of enemies and you want to have a boss every 10th floor, that's the kind of mode to play. It's so much fun. We're just like changing our kit as we go, and it's random enemies. So like one time we had a floor where a bunch of drones, that was all the enemies were. And if I had pulse equipped, it probably would have been simple as heck to just EMP blast all of those and had no problem with it. But instead they wiped us out because we're playing on challenging, and it just happened to just destroy us. And so then we reloaded, and then it ended up being like the pyro kind of enemies. So it kind of like changes up every time you replay, and then have a boss every 10th floor. And we've just been having a good time. It's not too hard, but it's hard enough that you're paying attention, and we're just kind of calling out where guys are and just catching up. And it's been a lot of fun doing that.
Sounds like an awesome mode. I did not know that was a thing.
Yeah, we didn't either.
That's super cool.
We were crossing our fingers. We're like, let's just get on Division 2. We haven't played a game together in forever. So, hey Zig, if you want to join, start downloading it right now.
I think I own that game on PC. But that sounds awesome. So it's kind of like, I guess, like Bloody Palace from DMC, where like the like ton of floors going through different enemies and stuff. That sounds super cool. Yeah,
so it's supposed to get like more challenging as you go. I don't know if it has been though. Has it, Jess? Like it's kind of seemed like just
right
you're
now
doing the same thing. You're just doing 100 floors of the same thing, but randomized enemies and specific side objectives, like hold a point, then hold the other point while enemies are coming, and then clear all the enemies, and then you get to the next floor.
Yeah, because you can set your difficulty, so I'm not really sure how they manage it to be harder over time, but I'm sure there will. It probably increases in difficulty like after certain milestones. It's not like every wave gets significantly harder. It's probably a big spike at some point. What are we at, like 50?
40, I think. But maybe they start increasing more of those tougher enemies, more robot dogs and stuff like that. But it hasn't been too hard so far. But the fact that you can go up and it saves, I think, your progress every 4 floors. Yeah. So
we're also really good. Like that is also.
Yeah, we are pretty darn good. Yeah,
we communicate so well and we execute things so well. I think that's part of it. But it could get harder. That'd be nice.
Yeah. The other game I've been playing some of The Last of Us Part 2 again. I have played through the whole game once on a friend's account when he let me borrow his PS4 before I had the PS5, right? And so now I'm playing through on my own account, getting the trophies and stuff, and just having a good time going through slower. Playing on grounded difficulty though, or the grounded mode, and that is insane. Like it definitely, I like a good challenge, and everyone who knows me knows I like to play more challenging games. I like to push myself, and I don't like to quit. But that game has not made me quit yet, but it's made me almost quit a few times. It's hard, and the amount of healing I don't have at the beginning, and the fact that I get low on health, then I can't heal, so then any one shot is a headshot and I'm dead. And so you make one mistake, you're dead. And you have to be close enough for them to detect you, even if you're facing their back. You go up to grab the guy, and as soon as you're close enough to press grab, you have to press triangle like instantly, right when they grab you, basically, because if you don't, then they're going to detect you, and then they call all their friends, and it doesn't matter if you're punching the heck out of the guy, you get shot in the back of the head and you're done. And then you start back at your checkpoint, and you don't have the listening mode, so you can't hear where people are through walls or anything, and you have like no HUD. All you have is like if you press left or right or up or down on the D-pad to see if you have a health kit or a grenade or you're swapping weapons, they'll show up for a second and go away, but you don't see how much ammo you have in your gun. So you have to like kind of keep track of that while you're playing, and you have to keep track of how much durability your melee weapons have as you're using them and things like that. It's really difficult, but it's fun. So I keep making a little bit of progress, but things that take maybe 10 minutes when you're playing a game normally, now I think I did a stream a couple of days ago, and it took me about 47 minutes to get through something that would take me maybe 10 or 15 minutes to just run through and collect everything. And this was something I didn't run through and collect everything. This was something I was just trying to get through, and it took me 47 minutes. So
Man, yeah, that's a good difficulty.
Yeah, so it's definitely one of those challenges that I'm like, this is going to be on the side, and whenever I'm bored, I think I could take it on this time. We could jump on and give it a few tries, fail, or get through it, and then turn it off. So that's been good. Been playing some Into the Gungeon, as we'll talk about later, and finished Inside, my second playthrough of that game, and then I ended up finishing it and missing 3 of the secret capsules, I'll call them. I don't know what they're called, but the little like secrets that you're supposed to find. I missed 3 of them. So then I went back, found the 3, and then I couldn't figure out what I was supposed to do, so I looked it up, and then I did that, and then I basically finished that, and that will be a video, I think, going onto my channel.
You get the secret ending?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I got all those things. I had to look it up, though, to figure out
Yeah,
there's like a lever you have to
really
put
cryptic.
up, left, and right, and apparently there's a spot somewhere in one of the levels where it has a tune or like certain like musical notes that you hear in a certain pattern, and you're supposed to remember. And there's like, I don't know, there's like more than 10 of them in a row you're supposed to remember. It's like up, left, right, left, or whatever, and you're like, how am I supposed to remember that? I don't mind, but it was cool to do the secret ending and find that out. And then I played some Medium yesterday, but that's our game club game. I don't mind spoiling that. That's our game club game for this coming week, and I'll say more next week after I get more time with it. I only played for an hour, so
awesome.
Yeah, so moving on from there, let's get right into the Gungeon. Ziggy,
Yeah.
since I've been talking for the last bunch of time, why don't you get into your impressions of Into the Gungeon?
All right, I fucking love this game. 2 thumbs up from me. It's like I feel like I played I've like dabbled in Enter the Gungeon a couple times before, like at a friend's house or whatever, and it never clicked for me. There's something about the shooting that just didn't feel quite right to me before, because it's kind of weird and like loose, and there's like the bullets move fairly slowly, to be honest, which didn't really like click with me before, but for whatever reason playing it this time, maybe it's just because I'm actually committed and like did the tutorial and stuff. But I had such a blast with it, where immediately I just like the art and everything is so charming. And then going through and then slowly, getting further, just that like, I love roguelikes, and it gives me all those little bits that I love. I prefer roguelikes that don't give you permanent upgrades, where it is purely just your own skill that gets you further. And this is like that. But you do sort of upgrade, or you unlock more things you can do in the Gungeon, which I think is a cool sort of type of consistent progression, where you meet new people and they give you new like shops, or one of them unlocks the elevators. You can like take shortcuts to lower floors, so you don't have to grind through the first like 1 or 2 every single time, because those start to get kind of boring. And it's just super fun, and like there's so many different weapons and strategies and stuff that every single playthrough does feel like legitimately different experience, which kind of gets to my one criticism of the game, which is that like every roguelike is luck based to some degree because it's all procedural, but this one feels especially luck based, where there are times where I start a run and die on the first boss, which I almost never do, just because I got so completely destroyed by RNG. Like I had one where I didn't get a single gun in that entire first floor, and there was like 2 of the big guys with the swords in the first room, and then just like kept on throwing me all these like weirdly difficult enemies. And so I was at like a heart and a half when I went to the boss with like barely anything, and then died. It's like, well, that's stupid. Like that didn't really feel earned per se. But I felt like those were pretty rare. And on the flip side, having runs where everything, like the start is just a line and you go just super hard and have this crazy build going, like those are so fun. So yeah, I really, really like the diversity in strategies and weapons and items and stuff, and slowly figuring out what stuff does. Because a lot of them are kind of joke guns, or like not really meant to be great, but still very usable. Just like really, really weird.
Like the revolver.
Yeah, or it's like the weird like transitioning gun that goes between like a shotgun and like a revolver, or like one that just shoots this really slow moving air that I actually found to be super OP. Or like there's a lot of weird references to
I could
other
do that
indie
with my
games. Like,
butt. It's pretty OP.
But there's a ton of references to other indie games which I like too. There's like a Super Meat Boy gun where you shoot like these bouncing spike balls and stuff like that. But yeah, I just thought it was super just charming and fun, an absolute blast to play. I feel like there's one more thing I was going to say about it, but I can't remember, so I'll put it over to you.
Okay. I actually totally agree with a lot of what you said. I even have a note written down for to do with the fact that the game doesn't that it relies on your skill a lot more than just permanent upgrades, like you were saying. I really liked that, although I do like, roguelike games that do give you permanent upgrades so that you can kind of keep playing through. You feel like you're making progress, and even if you don't win, you feel like you made some kind of progress on your character. I do like that in some, but on the alternate side, if you just picked up this game and you just did really good, you could get really far right away, and that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
You don't have to feel like right when you pick up the game, oh, I have to sink time into this before I can actually beat this boss, or I can get through to the end of the game. It's kind of like, if you're actually really good, you could just go through and beat it when your first try. If you're really good, it would be really difficult, but you could do it. Yeah, so
kind of on that,
yeah,
like
go ahead.
a lot of the progression is I like it's less even raw skill, and a lot of it is just knowledge, like knowing what certain enemies do, knowing how to take down certain bosses, knowing what the actual like weapons are and how to use them properly. Like a lot of it is just knowing the rules of the game and knowing how to manipulate them to your advantage. And so it's less like, somewhat like Spelunky, for example, is just stupidly hard. And a lot of that is because of learning how the game operates, but a lot of it is just because you have to have an insane level of like reflex and skill to actually get through there. But I like how I'm definitely not like a bullet hell god by any means. It's not my best genre, but like I got to like the 4th floor out of 5, and I felt like that was, and that's cool. Like I am not the best skill-based player at the game, but I feel like I started to learn enough about it and learn its mechanics that I could get to that point, which I really enjoy.
Yeah, I played about an hour and a half. I played it on stream on Monday. It's also, don't want to forget to say, it's developed by Dodge Roll, and it was published by Devolver Digital, for those who don't know.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the fact that I was like getting a lot better at the game as I played it, and I just kind of kept going. And like you said, it is skill, but it's also knowledge. Like you said, the enemies, they shoot projectiles in certain patterns in certain ways, and they can move around the map in other ways. And sometimes if you don't know what they're going to do, it's kind of hard to be good at the game until you've seen them attack you at least a couple times. I liked some of the abilities. I'm just going to name a couple that I got. Like I got these wings, so then I was permanently floating through the air.
Ooh,
and I could just float through over any gaps in the ground and just keep shooting. You can still do your dodge roll. It doesn't hinder you in any way. The only thing it does is basically makes it so you can't fall through any holes. And that was just, I was like, damn, this is nice. This is like really nice. And then I ended up not finding hardly any spots that it was helpful. So that was fine. And then another thing I found was like an upgrade, so I could, when I did a dodge roll, it made like a row of fire behind where I would roll. Like the direction I rolled would leave like a trail of fire behind me, and it stayed burning forever. So I would just roll around a whole room and just like light the whole room on fire. And I was like, this is sick. And at the same time I got that, I also already had an upgrade that made me immune to fire. So I don't know if you can get hurt by your own fire or not. So that was one thing I was very curious about.
Chaotic,
because I was like, was I just super lucky where I could just roll everywhere and run over my own fire and it didn't matter? Or is that normal? So the little things like that. There's like, the abilities abilities you can activate, and then you have your guns that you can use. You have your default one that has unlimited ammo, and you have other weapons that have a certain set amount of ammo, but you can keep finding more ammo throughout the dungeon or the Gungeon. And keep using it on. I found it was super helpful to have if you find other guns, those are helpful on bosses. Like your default gun's gonna do nothing. Yeah. And I only made it through to the 2nd floor in my hour and a half. I did it a couple times, but I never really made it through like 2 bosses in a row. I've gotten to the second boss a couple times, and that's about it for me. But yeah, I really liked the game. I liked the art. I liked the music. I was getting down with that, and yeah, I found it a good challenge. I don't know if I'm going to go back to it anymore. I think it did what I wanted it to do, and that was just, it really entertained me for an hour and a half, and I don't have a desire to beat it.
Yeah, I would disagree on the sense of like I'm definitely going back to this game. Like I'm still consistently, if I like am tired of one game or even just have like literally 20 minutes before work where I'm not doing anything, I'm like, screw it, I could get around to Gungeon and I'll play that and then get pissed because I died from something, and then and like yeah, I like how short the rounds are where you can just go in. It's literally like 10 to 20 minutes on a good run for me, and I can just get in there, get out, play a quick round, and I feel like I've done something, and that's really fun. Which character did you find you were using the most?
I only used the pilot. I didn't try all of them, which kind of surprises me because I usually like to try all before I like to stick with one. But I typically, for who I am, I like to play one character with any game. Jesse knows that very well.
He was always a hunter in Destiny. Never changed over all those years.
All the years.
Good taste.
But I also wanted to touch on how you can unlock. You get currency and you can like unlock abilities or some of the upgrades and stuff you can find in the dungeon. Like you were saying, you know, if you buy these upgrades, you will now find them in the Gungeon as you're exploring, right? That is very I know this game came out before. It came out in 2016 on PS4 and 2017 on Xbox One. But the game Undermine, I don't remember developer when it came out exactly, but it's on Game Pass. And that game I've really enjoyed, and I played it a few months ago. I really enjoy that game, and it has a mix of permanent upgrades and that kind of system where you can also purchase with the same currency. You can purchase items that you will find in the dungeon as you go down floors. But it does have randomized rooms, has items. So if you like Enter the Gungeon or you're interested in that one, I would also recommend Undermine, which is also on Game Pass. And yeah, that's all. That's the last I have to say on that. It's just they're both really good, and yeah, good times. Both can kill 20 minutes easily.
Awesome.
So yeah, moving on to the next thing on our list here. I wanted to check in on Metacritic because a few weeks back, Ziggy and I made our Metacritic's list for our predictions on games that we think are going to come out in 2021 this year. And Ziggy guessed for Hitman 3, he gave it an 88, and I gave it an 81. So Ziggy is definitely getting the point on this because Metacritic is sitting at 87. Oh, wow. And just to clarify, so that's very impressive. Good job, Ziggy. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You get the point.
You.
First point on the board.
Best. What can I say?
The best there ever was. Before I continue on this, though, I wanted to remember to say we're going to use the PC score for any cross-platform games that are on PC moving forward. And then if it's an exclusive, obviously, it'll be the Xbox score or something like that. But I think the PC one is the fair one for us to go off of when it's across all platforms because you have the Xbox Series X. I have a PS5. Like, we don't have the other one, and we both have a good PC. So we're just going to do it that way. But yeah, congratulations, Zig. That's awesome. You got the first point there. Yeah, I see you highlighted that nicely. Speech.
I would just like to say I'm a little disappointed because for a long while Hitman 3 was sitting at exactly 88, which was my prediction, and I was really hoping I'd get it right on the money, but
I made some calls. I made some calls.
I made some calls to dip it down a point.
I made some threats, kidnapped some kids. It wasn't a big deal.
Yeah, no. And it looks like unless a whole lot of people start reviewing the medium pretty damn well, it looks like I'm going to win that one too. So what can I say?
Holy cow. Why did I give it that? Anyways, we'll find that out in a little bit. You'll find that out next week. We'll see. So next on our to-do list here is let's talk about the main topic of the show. Should Xbox Live, mainly talking about the Xbox Live Gold, the multiplayer functionality, and the PlayStation. I guess it's all in PlayStation Plus now. I should know this, but I think you can't play online now without having PS Plus as well. So
Yeah.
should that be free? I've been giving this a lot of thought. Jesse, Zig, have you guys thought about this a decent amount?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this probably worth giving a bit of context in case you're out of the loop. Like this sort of came up because in the last week, Xbox made the announcement that they were doubling the price of Xbox Live on a yearly basis and upping the monthly price to $11 instead of $10 US. I don't know how much it is Canadian. But which
Too much.
I want to talk about a little bit too, because I think it's fair to like the price of Xbox Live hasn't raised in 10 years, which is kind of bonkers, but I also think doubling the yearly price is so like overkill on that end. Like I don't
Yeah.
think that's okay. But I think like raising it from like $9.99 to $10.99 is valid. Like inflation exists and it's been 10 years, so it makes sense. And I'm glad that they listened and reverted it, but it just is confusing that happened in the first place to me. Like Xbox, who has had so much goodwill and shown so much like quote unquote consumer friendly stuff, to pull a move like that is pretty weird. And I'm glad that they brought it back, and I'm doubly glad that they brought it back with the bonus of now you can play free to play games without Xbox Live Gold, which is great. It should have added that
Super
years
nice.
ago, in my opinion.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to pay $60 whatever dollars a month or
No.
a year to be able to play a free to play game.
Yeah.
No. If I'm 10 years old and I want to play Fortnite, which is not an attack on the Fortnite fan base, I'm just saying, like,
Wow, you hate them.
And my mom doesn't want to. And my mom doesn't want to like pay for my video games, but I want to play with my friends. Like,
Yeah.
I should be able to do that, And I think I'm really glad that they finally did that. To be honest, I think they should have done that forever ago. But in terms of should they be free, it's a really hard question, because in a perfect world, yes. Like it feels silly that as a console player you have to pay for online when on PC you don't, and it's weird when there's just sort of like those two different precedents there. But at the same time, it definitely makes sense why you have to, because like server upkeep is expensive. It takes money to do that. But I don't know. Like it's hard to try to think on both sides. For like as a consumer, obviously I want it to be free. Like if everything could be free, that would be great. And it sucks having to pay money each month just to play with my friends. Like that's sort of strange.
It is when you have a PC.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what's strange to me, is because, but it, I don't know if it would actually be sustainable or like viable for Xbox or PlayStation to remove that price tag entirely. That's kind of my stand. Like I wish it was, but I don't know if that's actually possible. In the sense, I suppose, now that Game Pass is becoming a thing, and there's been obviously rumblings of Sony having some sort of answer to that soon, if that sort of price of upkeep sort of gets shifted into the price for Game Pass and all of that, where they do take away the price of multiplayer for everybody, but that price just sort of gets lumped in, or how do I explain this? Basically, that the cost it takes to upkeep servers is paid for through Game Pass or through whatever, like PS Now, like whatever its successor is, or if they just keep using that. So they just sort of use other subscriptions that make more sense than paying for something that, quite frankly, should be free to keep to make it sustainable of having these servers. And also, I honestly think $60 a year is just a lot. Like, I kind of wish they could both be on the Nintendo side of $20 a year, which frankly, Nintendo's is $20 a year because it fucking sucks. But like, to be totally honest, there's a reason why it's cheap, but I feel like $20 a year is a much fairer price for a simple feature like playing online. And I also really disagree with lumping in other features on that. Like Nintendo and Sony both have it where you need to pay for their premium service just to use like cloud saves and stuff like that, which really should be basic features. And I definitely don't think that's okay. I think those should be free. Which, yeah. Anyways, leaving on to you guys. I've talked for a while about all this.
All right, Jess, you're next. Let's get your opinions on this.
Right away, I'll give an answer right off the bat. I think multiplayer should never cost money to play, like connect. Like if you want to play a game and I have the game too, and there is multiplayer in the game, we should be able to connect and play that game together, and that shouldn't be an additional cost. I see that Xbox, it costs money to have the servers. I think they are fully capable of thinking of a better creative way to get that income regularly to sustain the servers without charging people specifically for playing multiplayer. Like, for instance, the free games with gold. I think that's a great incentive for someone who has money to pay and then get something out of it. They could do more with that. But if the base of not paying for gold still gave you multiplayer, you can connect and play, but you didn't get anything else. That's just like PC. Like, you can connect and play, and that's all free. But if you want free games every week or every month, pay
And
for
voice
gold.
chat.
And if you get extra cosmetics for certain games like Twitch Prime, or they give extra features or something, they could be totally more creative on incentivizing people who do have the money to add a little bit of extra per month. They pay per month, and they get a lot of nice bonuses and features to it, and they could make enough money to sustain it without the poor little kid who wants to play with his friend, who doesn't have a credit card, and just wants to play matchmaking. Could actually do that. Or for instance, a game like Destiny 1, I remember when I didn't want to have gold for some reason at that time. I don't know why it was, but on Xbox I couldn't even launch Destiny because it's an online only game. It wouldn't even let me play the game I own. But on PlayStation, at the same year, same time, on PlayStation 4, I could play the Destiny and do all offline stuff other than matchmaking. So I couldn't do strikes, but I could be in open world, jumping around, shooting things, and playing the game that I own.
And the
And I was
story
thinking,
missions, yeah.
that makes perfect sense. As soon as it was a matchmaking thing, they were saying, no, you can't because you don't have whatever it is, PlayStation Plus.
Yeah.
But even that, I would say in a better world, I think they could find other ways to incentivize people to play for Xbox Gold. But Xbox in general, it's like connect online and you can play with friends online. That should make sense. No extra money. If you want to pay money, you get bonuses. You get incentive. But yeah, doubling the price, I definitely don't agree with that like everyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I Go ahead.
sorry. I think, I definitely agree with what you're saying of having just simply playing with somebody shouldn't cost money. And that sort of goes into, I think, what I was saying about like Game Pass covering that cost of servers and stuff. And yeah, I really agree. Microsoft is a insanely rich company, like they can afford to upkeep those servers without charging people for it. And B, they should be able to find a more creative revenue model than just making people pay for basic features.
Yeah.
Especially when some games, like you were saying, Destiny, when I played that in probably 2015 or something, I also didn't have gold, and I could play what you were saying, like on PS4, where you can do like story missions and all that stuff. You just can't matchmake. But that's really shitty that you couldn't even do that. That you couldn't do any of that at launch.
Yeah.
That definitely shouldn't be a thing. But yeah, totally agree. It just basic features should be free. Anyways, Nick.
Yeah, if I can say something. No, just kidding. I think that I don't think it should be free to get all the stuff that is currently in Xbox Gold. You get your voice chat, you get your games with gold, which personally I don't care about any of them. I've never felt like I missed out, and I don't even have an Xbox right now. But I know some people appreciate it, and that's cool. That's fine. But like you said, Jess, I think Microsoft can clearly think of a more creative way. I think that they already are going to merge it with Game Pass. I don't think that's really much of a question. I think that's pretty clear they're going to do that, and I personally think that is very much why they were increasing the price of gold, is to start to make people go, oh, but if I just pay like another $1 more or whatever it ends up being, or if I want to convert all my months of Xbox Gold, I can now move those months into Game Pass, and I can keep Game Pass, and I'll get gold, and I'll have all these games. I think this is more about trying to go, we have so many millions of people with gold right now, and we're getting up there with Game Pass, but it's not quite at that level. Let's start to move these numbers over to this side and do that, and then we can axe gold after, because we can't just cut gold from all these millions of people who are using it right now. And I think that's what this was all about. And then I'm sure some higher up people were like, nah, this isn't gonna work, and then they tried it and they went, nope, definitely not working, we're going back on it, let's see what else we can do. And I'm sure we'll hear about that in the next few months or so. They'll do something else. But I think that like you said, just to be able to play with each other, because like on Steam, if I was to play a game with you, we'd have to be using the in-game chat unless we use Discord or we use something else, right? But if Xbox wants to go, hey, you can connect with each other and be playing the game, you can emote, do your little dance moves and whatever together, you can do that. But if you want to talk to each other, you have to use in-game chat, or if you want to pay a bit more, you either get Game Pass or you pay another somehow mid-tier, which Xbox seems to love to do with all these little tiers of different things, and maybe you get the chat and you get games with gold for people who just want that. They don't need the library of games, they just want games that they own, because that's the other thing. Games with gold, you get to own them forever, right? It's not like PS Plus where you own the game until you stop having PS Plus.
It is like that. You need to keep subscribing to play it. Yeah.
I don't believe that's true.
I as someone who on and off had Xbox Live Gold a lot during high school.
Same, but my high school was longer ago, so it could be different now. But I know I would know for a fact I was able to play my Xbox Live Gold games when I didn't have the service. So I don't know if they've changed it, but
wow,
I know,
because I remember it used to be I just got some free games and then I stopped having the gold, and I was like, awesome, I still have Assassin's Creed whatever number it was. But
yeah, I remember there was a couple games I wanted to play when my gold ran out that I was like, what? I don't get this forever, and I was kind of annoyed by that.
Yeah, that's brutal. Huh. Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with a lot of what you're saying, Nick.
Okay, here we go. Yep, it's been updated.
Okay.
So it looks like Xbox One games, which was after I had an Xbox, like I got rid of my Xbox One back when that was out. Xbox One games are yours to play as long as you have an active gold membership, and Xbox 360 games are yours to keep. So I had 360 games back at that time. So okay, that's interesting. Now we've clarified. That's good to know.
Interesting, yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Wild.
It's funny, you can really tell they've just kind of stopped putting effort into games with gold at this point. Like, when you look at the games they have month by month, most of them are already on Game Pass, or just like nothing.
Or they made it
totally honest.
Dude, or they've made a deal to be on PS Plus.
Yeah. It's like if you walked into an EB Games and you see that bin of games that are for $5. Those are the games you will get.
Yeah.
And even in those bins at EB Games, you do find a nice game from time to time. I'm not saying they're all trash, but it is the same deal. As you look in the bin, you have to dig deep to find something that's maybe half decent for the price. But
yeah, when the bin is only 2 games deep, it's hard to find a good one.
Exactly. Yeah. A lot of the time, it's just like weird licensed games or like sports games I've never heard of.
Oh man,
just stuff like that. But yeah, it's definitely disappointing to see Xbox do this. Like I said, they have been on such a good streak with Game Pass, with all this stuff.
And I think they still are now that they backtracked and they gave free games for free, basically.
At least for me, there's a little bit of like a mistrust, at least when they say this sort of stuff, like, oh, well, how long is that actually going to last? Like, I have a little bit more of a feeling now that they could just pull the carpet out from under my feet with all this stuff, with like raising the price or taking away features and stuff like that. And I can't say if they will or not. Like, they clearly do have the ability to listen to people with this stuff, and hopefully they continue to do that. But it makes me nervous of the future and the fact that they could potentially do that when it wasn't something that I was as worried about before.
Right. That's fair. So next on my doc here, I put down that this year is the Legend of Zelda's 35th anniversary. Me being a huge Zelda fan, got the Majora's Mask shirt, we got the Ocarina of Time background here. I love Zelda so much. I just was like, I have to put this in today. I just want to talk about Zelda for a little bit, so humor me for a moment. Other than Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 possibly coming out this year, what would you guys want from a Zelda anniversary being this year? You know, do you want remakes? Do you want a remaster? Do you want, like, when I say remake, I'm thinking more like akin to the Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening on the Switch that they did recently, where it went from total Game Boy Color game or a Game Boy game to the Switch, right? Or do you want a remaster where it's more like the Zelda Wind Waker HD remaster, right? Do you want DLC in other games like a Zelda DLC in Mario Kart 8, or something like that? What kind, or in Mario Odyssey? What would you want to see in a Zelda focused year? Because we just ended Mario's 35th anniversary, I think, right? Or was it?
Yeah,
or
lame.
Yeah, and it didn't really impress
Mario
me.
disappears on the 31st. That's when Mario canonically dies.
Yeah, no. So
March 31st.
looks like there's a Mario themed update for Animal Crossing coming out. But back to Zelda, what would you guys be excited to see? That's Zelda related.
Yeah,
Or
I know.
is there anything?
Oh, I know. I have
Okay,
some
just go
plans
ahead.
here. Right off the
Hit us with
bat,
it.
I would be so overjoyed. Oracle of Ages and Seas is coming to Switch. It would be beautiful. Nice little HD retexture. Throw it in there. Over on the top. Like, obviously this would never happen, but let's say it for the fun, and you guys can dream about it tonight and have a great dream. They make it look like the toy Link, like the Link's Awakening remaster they did for Switch. Like the cute little one,
Yeah.
but they do Oracle of Ages and Seas. It'd be beautiful games. Like,
They
I
could
just
totally
be
do
this
it.
package, I don't care. I don't know. I'd spend $100 on that. I don't care. I would just love that. That would be amazing. And that would just be perfect for a Legend of Zelda celebration. It's never going to happen. What I would love that's more
Could. No, it
realistic
could.
is a fat old trailer / gameplay glimpses of Breath of the Wild 2. I just want a fat, long trailer with some gameplay in it.
A fat long trailer.
Yeah, I mean, I want to know what that game actually is. Like, I was talking about this with my partner the other day of, like, I'm still very interested and excited, but we still don't know if this game is open world or not. Like, we can kind of make assumptions based on the first game, but really all we know is that it's using the same engine and a lot of the same assets as the first one, and it could be anything. So I want to know what that game is.
Yeah, how are they gonna go bigger and better? Like,
Yeah,
because
those are
you always
big
want to
shoes
do
to
that.
live up to.
Yeah, it is. It's really the only thing they can do better in Breath of the Wild is the story and dungeons.
I agree.
What
And
you
that's
do in
I
between
hope
is
that they
nailed.
I hope that they use the similar mechanics of, like, the different abilities that you all get at the start and stuff like that. And like that engine world, and that game introduced a lot of really, really cool lore to the series. And I hope that they sort of take all that and then make a game that's less like go anywhere, do everything, because that's already been done by the first Breath of the Wild, and make something that is more story focused and a little bit more linear of a story that they're trying to tell in that world, as opposed to the first game's open-ended nature. Because I think if they try to do that again, it'll be a mixture of, like, we've already seen this, and, like, it's cool, this is a great game still, but, like, we've seen this before, and it won't be as exciting as the first one. And B, like, I think trying to get that lightning in a bottle twice will just be really, really difficult for them. I hope that they just sort of take a new direction.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I
hope Zelda is playable.
Go ahead.
That's my last thing. I really want Zelda to be playable. I've been asking for this since I first got introduced to the series. I'm tired of her never being a proper character, and the trailer kind of seemed like she could be. Anyways, Jesse, continue.
Oh no, I said that was it. So basically the
Okay,
remaster or the fat trailer, or both.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's go for both.
Then I've got a couple ideas then sitting in the old noggin.
Crack that
the
egg.
first one the first one, kind of talked about this last episode. I really want to see Skyward Sword on Switch. I really want to see an HD, like, I want them to really sort of rework the controls of that game and make it work better than it did on the Wii, because I think while I said I really liked the idea of the controls, I think technically they don't always work super great, because the Wii was just, I mean, it's 2007 hardware. It's hard to do that great on that sort of thing. But I think, if they remastered those controls, HD textures and all that, A, it would look gorgeous, and B, I think it would be what the game needs to be. That said, that's never gonna happen. Like with Jesse's idea,
right.
I think there's not nearly enough people love that game enough for that to happen. And the other one I want to see, I remember seeing in the, like, sort of conceptual phase of Breath of the Wild that when they were prototyping levels, they sort of put it all into like the Zelda 1 engine, where it was like top-down pixel art for them to sort of figure out like how the world looked. And I remember seeing that going, oh, that's really, really cool. And I would love to see sort of a Breath of the Wild demake in that style.
That
where
would be
it is the whole
crazy.
map and
Wow.
everything, and it has those like similar mechanics, but in that like NES, SNES style of like 8-bit visuals and all that, like taking the Breath of the Wild tracks and like condensing them down into
Right.
like NES sounding music. I think that would be really, really interesting.
That'd be really cool.
I would love to see that.
Would you want it to have the screens where you go to the edge and then it just slides over?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, definitely.
That'd be really, really. Do you have any other ones? Any other wishes for this year?
I think those are the two big ones. I would like to also. I've been kind of guessing this for a while, but I feel like a Breath of the Wild character in Smash would be cool, like one of the champions or something like that, or maybe all 4 champions, like Pokemon Trainer style. I think that would be really neat, just because I don't know. I think it would make sense with what
it would be
Nintendo's
really
doing,
cool.
But that's about it for me, I think.
A Korok who just throws his little gold poops. Yeah, for me, when I think of this year, I actually don't think so. I don't think Jesse's idea of Oracle of Ages and Seasons with running on the engine of Link's Awakening, which was the original, like all 3 of those games were on the same like engine
Yeah.
for the Game Boy. I don't think that's actually that crazy. I think that's very likely to happen. Maybe not this year, but if it doesn't happen this year, I'm sure they're thinking of it. And the fact that they could sell it as 2 games for $90 each or more, you know,
I'd buy it.
the fact that they could do that and that Jesse and I could both say buy one, play through, then send our codes to each other, swap the games, and then you continue on that
Yes.
playthrough because it continues your name. And like that was something that was so cool about those Zelda games, was the fact that there were items on each game that you could only get if that was your second playthrough, or if that was the
Yeah.
second game you played, basically. So I can't remember which one, but I know one of them you could get the Big Oron sword, which you can get in Ocarina of Time, but you could get that in the top down, and it's just like a really long sword you could swing around, and you only could get that for whatever reason if you had beaten one at the previous game before, or the other game before it, and then taken your save over. And I just think like stuff like that was cool. That was the only way to get like max hearts too, was to get the heart pieces in the one game and then get them in the other game. I would love to see that even more than Link's Awakening. So I really hope that comes true. And Ziggy, your idea of Skyward Sword coming to Switch and having the better motion controls, like it might not be my number one, but I still think that would be really cool to have like better controls with the sword, having better controls for the thing. I would actually really love it if they included a boss rush mode with it, so you could purely just play the
Yeah.
bosses and get to do all the little motion,
That's
like
part of the
use
game,
all the
yeah.
items, use the different, you know, the whip on that robot or the weird like statue boss and rip the arms and legs off and then slice. Like I would have a blast doing a boss rush mode, but I don't want to sit through 2 hours of tutorials. But I do think that that's very possible too. For
And
my
I think
Go ahead.
forgot the other part. What I was thinking of with that is, like with the Wind Waker HD, like re-release, they sort of cleaned up the pacing of that game a lot, where they took out some really lengthy, like boring sections, sort of reworked some stuff. And I think they absolutely could and should do that for Skyward Sword if they do a like remaster, where in that opening bit on Skyloft, God, so much of that could just be cut. Like, so much of that is unnecessary tutorial. And throughout the whole game, like, there's a lot that they could really just take some shears and, like, go through, add new content if they wish. They don't even really have to. I think the game is lengthy enough as is. But yeah, I think a lot of the pacing could be cleaned up just by kind of, getting rid of some of that tutorial, taking some shears to it. At the same time, though, I think there is just a lot of revisiting zones, and there isn't a ton that they can do about that. But yeah, I think a lot of my criticisms of that game, despite it being my 50th favorite game of all time, could be addressed in a remaster.
Yeah, I remember the one thing that really got me back when I did really like the game was when you do your second playthrough and it's like the hero mode or something like that, right? Where it's like the harder difficulty, hearts don't grow on flowers anymore, things like that. You have to use more potions. I remember being disappointed that I couldn't skip the tutorial at the beginning, and I couldn't skip cutscenes that I wanted to skip. later on in
Yeah.
the story. And I think even if they just added that, that would be a huge improvement. But having that for your first playthrough also, just having those options and just include it for both. Because if you're like, oh, I want a good challenge, I want to go through the game and try not to lose as many hearts, or be careful about damage I'm taking, use my shield more and parrying and stuff. Because that was the first game that kind of added that in a really good way. If you want to do that, you have to sit through so much crap if you want to just skip through the dialogue and you don't care about the story on that second playthrough. But yeah, for my what I'm hoping will happen though is because I was just saying, like, I totally think what you guys are saying could come true, but for me, I really want to see just like they did with the Mario 35th anniversary, and they had the 3 Mario games. They had Mario Galaxy, they had Mario Sunshine, and Mario 64. I want to see Zelda Ocarina of Time. They kind of did one from each console, so I'm just gonna say that. Like, I don't think, even though I would like other games, I'm gonna say it would probably be like Ocarina of Time. You'd probably get Wind Waker and Skyward Sword is what I would say. And that would be
Princess? Twilight Princess
Not
would be on
Twilight
that?
Princess? What?
I don't think so, but maybe. I don't think so. I think you'd get Wind Waker and you get Ocarina of Time and Twilight Princess, or you get Wind Waker, Ocarina of Time, and Skyward Sword. Depends on whether or not they're making it. But I do want a collection. I think a HD collection would be ideal. And who knows, maybe you'll just get maybe because they already have Twilight Princess and Wind Waker already remade in HD for the Wii U, maybe they'll just put those two and they'll have Skyward Sword added in, and that'll be it, right? Maybe they don't do Ocarina of Time because that's remade on the 3DS. But I would like to see Ocarina of Time. I want to have a reason to play it again. I just don't want to pull out my 3DS to play it. So that's kind of my hope. That's what I would really like to see. Just that 3DS version, but in 1080p on my Switch. That would be fantastic to me. That game actually looks really good. And then beyond that, I think it would be really cool, whether Breath of the Wild 2 comes out this year or not, leading up to the fact that it will come out at some point, and leading up to it, it would be cool to see some DLC go into Breath of the Wild 1 for it. That stuff that could kind of tease you, maybe you're like, oh, there's a crack in the earth here, and like they added this free DLC, and now you can go check out one dungeon or one little thing, and you can get one item from it, and it just kind of enhances your experience for the world. Yeah, I think that'd be really cool. Maybe it's like a jet-powered hang glider, so now when you're flying, you can like put on a boost, and you have a certain amount of launch through the air, like the speedrunners. So I don't know, that'd be awesome.
I think definitely sort of an epilogue to like tie the story in from the first game to the second game would be really, really smart.
Yeah, so that's what I would want. Let's move right into our 49th favorite game, Zig.
Awesome.
We started this last week, our top 50 games of all time. We're going to do one a week leading up to the end of the year. So this week we're on number 49. Ziggy. Oh, actually, before I start with you, Jess, did you want to include your number 49 today, or
no?
did I skip
I'm all good.
past it?
I don't really have a 49th.
That's okay. I just wanted to check before I go.
I'll join in at the 30s. In the 30s.
Gotcha.
Sounds good.
I'll join in on the ones. So Ziggy, why don't you start with your number 49?
All right. So my 49th game of all time. This is where I start to get into the weird shit. Mine is the I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, the 90s adventure game version, the adaptation of the classic short story. So I think the idea of adapting literature into a video game is kind of bonkers and has it even been tried a couple times? I can't think of any good examples other than this game. And like, there's definitely been movie adaptations into games. Most of them are bad. Most of the time, adapting something into a game sucks. But with this, actually, no, I can't think of one other. Anyways, I'm already getting sidetracked. I think the one surefire way to make sure you get a good adaptation is when the original creator adapts it. Where I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream is a classic sci-fi short story about a maniacal AI that basically destroys much of the planet and then keeps like 3 or 4 people alive perpetually and just sort of tortures them forever. It's really bleak. It's one of my favorite short stories. I really love it. And they basically take that concept and then really expand it into this really bizarre and horrifying adventure game, and it's weird. It is so weird. It's kind of a hard game to talk about without just like explaining why the whole story is brilliant. But the original author of the short story wrote this game and made this game, and actually voice acts in the game too. He's like an award-winning actor, I believe. Yeah.
Nice.
And it just does so many really, really interesting things of like storytelling through gameplay and all these things. I would consider it one of the like great 90s adventure games, up with all like the Tim Schafer games and stuff like that. I think it is incredible and doesn't get enough acknowledgement for what it is, but because most of why it's good is just the story, and I don't want to just sit here and explain the whole story to you guys, I will just kind of leave it at that. You should check it out if you're interested. If it's on GOG, I believe, or just read the short story because it's a lot shorter than going through a whole like very obtuse 90s adventure games. It has a lot of that bullshit in it of like weird puzzles that make no sense.
Is it more of like a puzzle game then, like more focused on?
Yeah, it's like Monkey Island or something like
gotcha,
that,
yeah.
where it's point and click, like solving puzzles, that sort of thing. But I think the weird obtuseness of it works so much better for a game with this tone, where it is bleak and strange and like kind of laborious, like from a story perspective, to kind of make you do all these weird, like obtuse things. But yeah, definitely a game worth checking out if you're into dark and or weird stories. And yeah, I mean, and the original story too, like this isn't video games, but it's a really, really great short story. There's like PDFs of it online. It's one of the major inspirations for like 2001, I think, or maybe there's sort of inspirations for each other, but it uses the whole like now kind of tropey like villainous AI killing people thing to a really, really, really cool effect. And yeah, Nick, what's yours?
Yeah, speaking of point and click, my number 49 is Leisure Suit Larry. No, I'm just joking. It's my number 49 is Far Cry 3, actually.
I'd just like to say I really wish you were being serious earlier. That would have made me so happy.
I do like that game, but no, it's not in my top 50. Yeah, Far Cry 3 is my only Far Cry game that I would even put on as like one of my favorites, right? Or even as one that I like. I want to like Far Cry, but really 3 is the only one that I played that really really got me. And Jesse knows this story better than anyone, but when we were younger, like, and I played this game, I remember I played it through and beat it over a couple days or a weekend, basically. And it was like all I did at that time. I didn't hang out with friends or nothing, so I was really sunk into this game. And being someone who didn't play many mature games and stuff too, it was very much like, okay, focused on insanity and like, you know, you're killing guys and whatever, you know, it's just pretty normal for nowadays. But for me at that time, I was like very like getting into it, clearing out these camps. Okay, you're this guy who like, you're just partying and then you get stuck on this island, then you kill a guy by accident. And just like the voice acting and the animations, really, regardless of how they're compared right now, at that time, for me, it was like the top level. I see your character and he's like, his hands are shaking after he stabs the guy that's trying to attack him. He's like, oh shit, like I just killed this guy. Like, oh, like what have I done kind of thing. And you're playing this character and you're just talking to other people and you're learning about this island and you're trying to get Voss, the main villain, and and just as you go through and then you get to the end and you have a choice to kill your girlfriend or not. And I remember I chose to do it for some reason. And I remember having nightmares, or just like having, not nightmares, but like, you know, when you can't sleep and you're just kind of tossing and turning and you're like thinking about the decision. And I remember feeling so sick in my stomach, like, I did it. I killed my girlfriend. Like, I did this thing. I did it in real life. Like, I can't believe I did this. And I'm like, no, I didn't. Like, when I think back to it now, I laugh. Like, I just can't believe I felt this way. But it really got me. So I had to put this on my top 50 list because I loved it, and it was the first game to use this kind of engine. Like 4 copied it a lot, and I guess, is there a Far Cry 5 was again on the same sort of engine. They like upgraded it. I totally forgot about 5, but
the fact that you had to think of if it existed.
Well, I'm like,
so
I know
funny
6
to me.
is
It
next,
really
but what was
says a lot
5?
about
I was
it.
like, I know 6 is a thing, but what was 5? Yeah. So but yeah, 3 was like that first one that made me go, okay, cool. You can climb stuff. You can hang glide across this island. You can clear out camps, and it had a lot of like upgrades and RPG elements that like kind of first introduced me to that stuff. And so for me, that's my number 49. I don't have much else to say other than it was a game that really got me back then, and I really enjoyed it. So
It also had a map creator. You could create missions.
That's right.
I remember me and my buddies would dive right into that. I had some late nights making some shenanigans out of that game, and that was awesome. But like you're saying with the experience of the campaign, I had a similar one where I played it throughout a week or two, and I didn't play anything else. I didn't play any Halo, which at the time, that was like me and high school friends, we'd just play Halo. So it was weird of me not to play. I was so sucked into that story. It really immersed you into it, and I remember tearing up at the end. Like I was like so emotionally involved, and I finished it, and I was like wanting to go downstairs and talk to mom and dad about it because I was like, that was such a good story, such a good story. And then I'm like, oh yeah, it's a video game. It wasn't a book, so they don't care. And I was like, damn.
Right.
I wish I could share this with more people, but not everyone plays games and would play that game. But yeah, it was like such a good story going through it. It had so many twists and turns that like just gave me goosebumps, and it was probably one of my first experiences of playing a video game where it sucked me in like a novel would, I guess, and like really get you into the story and felt like it really had evolved. So yeah,
that's well put.
good game.
Yeah, if anyone's ever interested in Far Cry 3 and they want a similar experience to me and Jesse, just don't play anything else. Don't look at anything else. Just play this game straight through beginning to end. Focus on story missions and
Seriously,
see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just recently, it's funny you bring this game up because like last week or something, the live action short film that they made from it popped up in my YouTube feed, and I was watching that.
Yeah, so
and like that's so awesome too. Or it has the Voss's voice actor playing in that and like torturing the guy, and it's like that weird like you kind of feel sick to your stomach, but you're also laughing because it's like well written comedy, but also just like kind of disturbing. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, so that's my number 49. Let's go right into the last part here, our game club game for next week. I already spoiled it. It's The Medium. Came out yesterday of the time of recording. This will come out on Sunday, so it'll be a few days at this point. So this coming, the next episode 23, we will be giving our impressions on The Medium. I will be streaming it and playing it more this coming week. Zig, do you have any couple sentences, just first initial thoughts on it?
I haven't played it at all. I
thought you did. For some reason, I thought you did. Oh.
No. I opened it up and was like, because I wanted to start playing. I was like, no, I'll wait till next week. I want it to be super fresh in my mind. But I'm excited about this game. The reviews for it have been interesting to me because they're legitimately all across the board. Like I've seen 6s and I've seen 9s from different places. So it definitely seems like it's maybe a bit of an acquired taste. So I'm interested to see like if it will click for me or not. I really hope it does because I'm really interested in the story it's trying to tell.
Yeah, I hope it does for you too. I'd say for me, I'm leaning more on the 6 side of things. I've only played an hour, so that's all I'll say on that. I'm hoping it really picks up for me and I enjoy it more. Last I'll say on this is currently, so our predictions for the Metacritic score for it, mine was a 91 for some reason. That's really high, and I do not think I'm going to win on that one. And then Ziggy's is at a 79, which I actually think will end up being too high too, but we'll see. So yeah, that's about it for this week's episode. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. And if you want to follow any of us, check out the links below. We'll see you on the next episode. Keep pinking that screen, as Ziggy says.
Oh yeah.
Bye.
See ya.